Hello, everybody, and welcome to WarCrafters for July 6th, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 27. And I just got signed out of my dock, so I'm going to do this live. I don't edit the videos. My production value is what it is, I guess you could say. All right, so today, doggone it, I got logged out of both of my documents. This is a time machine episode. I wasn't available on the 6th to do the actual show, so we're gonna make it up today and then try and do the regular show tonight too. The Non Sequitur news show is at 7 p.m. hopefully. That said, I am MayorWatt. I run ohmTown.com. It is right there. And it is a news aggregation site that I've been using for over a decade. I put it together a long time ago for me to manage my information overload. It's only grown for me. And about 4 years ago, now, well, 3.5 years ago, 2022, I unlocked it so that everybody else could join it and go over and check it out. It's all news, no noise. There isn't anything on the front page or any subordinate page until you go into the articles themselves, and I'll show you how this works. So this is the front page as of July 6th. You can actually go back in time all the way back to 2020, although there may not be any news there anymore because I've been slowly purging everything prior to our launch, January 1st, 2022. But you can go back in time. That's how we have our time machine keyed in, right? The dual singularities link together and pull the Sentient AI, that right there, and myself back in time so I can do shows like this. We've yet to miss a show. So WarCrafters is the name of this show, and it's about first-person shooters, real-time sim, RPGs, basically gaming in general. I have very little time to play games, but I love playing games, usually chill, casual games nowadays. But kind of clickers, idle games are a lot of fun for me. But I love survival crafting, base building games. So I'm actually waiting for Light No Fire because I think that might be my forever game. And I may just end up maining that and streaming that when I'm not doing the show. At any rate, the first article that we're going to talk about, and I'm doing this all ass backwards, Sons of the Forest Reborn, Starfield Between an Asteroid and DLC, 10 amazing indie games, Haunted Chocolatier, and Manor Lords getting all up in your major overhaul. That and more, probably not more, because it's a Time Machine episode, and we're going to race through this and get you out of here so that you can go and enjoy the next show, because after this show, I shut down the Time Machine, rejigger some things, and launch again the Time Machine to do Technology Today, and then after that is FourWheelTech. So Technology Today is a deeper dive into higher, like deeper end of the pool for science and technology, and FourWheelTech is all about automotive technology in the industry. So let's get going. All right, you may hear in the background some noise, grindy, whatever. And that is a 3D printer that is printing out stuff currently right now. It's a multi-board panel. But we are, or I should say I am launching, Constructagon. It is a 3D modeling, 3D printer show that will take place on the weekends. It'll be once a week, just like the others. It'll be 5 news articles that are in Constructagon. And so it's one of the shows, one of the categories that I aggregate news into. We're going to keep bolstering that and adding contact information in there. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, you can subscribe to that, or you can follow us for the whole general listing of news. So just go over to ohmTown.com, sign up or sign in, follow us, like and subscribe on YouTube and on Twitch, and then just come and hang out so that you'll get notified when we go live. And if you want today's show notes, you can hit ! And then WC for WarCrafters. and ohmTown, our channel bot, will spit out the articles for the latest episodes. Not the historical record, not yet. I'm working on a process so that you can put a command and a date, and it'll go back in time and grab the articles from that particular time frame. Anyway, the first article we're going to talk about is Sons of the Forest and why Sons of the Forest is blowing up on Steam again. Apparently, Sons of the Forest was released in early 2023, bringing players a vast survival horror experience, and developed by End Night Games as follow-up to The Forest. Sons of the Forest takes players on a remote island that's filled with cannibals and mutants, making a game horrifying and unique take on the survival genre. The things that I've never quite understood about mutants and cannibals and zombies and all that kind of stuff is there's never been a history of them reproducing. So it's a finite resource. I don't know where they're all coming from, but why do they spawn out of nowhere? Anyway, it's a game, I know. Suspend disbelief in the gaming kind of world. But so the article is over at GameRant. LB Bystad over at GameRant.com put the article together, and it says, one of Sons of the Forest's best qualities is that it offers players a terrifying sandbox environment to explore as they see fit. Between its spine-chilling monsters and freedom-focused exploration, Sons of the Forest brings the horror of surviving in an unknown environment front and center. So why is it suddenly blowing up? Oh god, that is a creepy monster that they've got on the display. Anyway, Sons of the Forest, this is a weekly show, so I don't know if it's still on sale. It says that the deal ends July 10th in this article, so 3 days from today being the 7th. That's my launch point for the time machine. But if you're watching this on the 6th, then well, you're in a time machine too. But anyway, yeah, you've got until July 10th. So without the deal, Sons of the Forest is usually $30, but it's $10. It says it's pretty hard to turn down, and I agree. Sons of the Forest is pretty scary. It's fun to watch. Not my style of game, but you should go and get Sons of the Forest if you like an offering of sustainable weapons like a bow, arrow, knives, axes, machetes. And then it says, of course, Sons of the Forest getting extra players after the release of 28 years later could be a coincidence, but the timing seems a bit perfect. Regardless, for those in search of a unique horror experience that also boasts great survival mechanics and exploration, taking advantage of Steam's limited time Sons of the Forest deal may be well worth it. Yeah, so go and download it, go and buy it, actually, install it and play it. Thanks LB Bystad for the article over at GameRant.com. You can follow the link through ohmTown. You can follow the link through the show notes over on YouTube, and you can follow the link from the chat on Twitch. All of those links go straight on over to the source, and all we have is this little tidbit here. We don't even grab graphics or anything like that. We don't screen scrape. It's all supplied by our sources. So follow that link, visit the source, and you can go on over there. Every once in a while, there are conversations that take place, but to do it, you have to log in. So you definitely have to become a citizen over at ohmTown. But it's free. We don't advertise. We don't track. Yeah, there's no ads on the site, so it's doing nothing but costing ohmTown money. So to host, and it's a big host, let me tell you. All right, the next article is over on WarCrafters. Why Starfield may be stuck between a rock and a hard place with future DLC. Mainly because I think it's dying on the vine, and there isn't anything there. It's busted procedural generation just wasn't there. I don't know. I wanted that game to be so badass, and it just kind of fell flat. Kind of a Bethesda Temu version of it. Anyway, since its launch, Starfield was plagued with long stretches of on-foot traversal, lackluster enemies, and a story that felt nearly non-existent. True, but the game's biggest issue wasn't just pacing or plot. It was the use of procedural generation. Instead of creating each planet by hand with unique geography, landmarks, and quests, Bethesda used algorithms to generate environments on the fly as players approached them, which would be great. The problem is that it was anemic. There wasn't really stuff on the planet. There were key touch points, points of interest where you had to go, but it was boring as hell. It was worse than No Man's Sky in terms of like mind-numbing uh, duplicative content. Like, I love No Man's Sky because I can go anywhere, identify all kinds of stuff, but it's basically the same kind of a thing. And I didn't need, quintillion planets. I needed, 1,000 really good planets that were teeming with life, and things that I could adventure in. That's what I was looking for. But I got none of that in Starfield. Bethesda used algorithms to generate the environments on the fly. It allowed the game to feature over 1,000 planets, but most ended up feeling empty and repetitive. Oh, and that's what they say here. Outside a few carefully designed locations like New Atlantis and Aquila, players mostly discovered duplicate medical labs, lifeless caves, basically just boring ass whatever. Fatima Athar over at GameRant.com put the article together. So what did Shattered Space get wrong? Well, other than it was kind of a boring plot line. That's it. It was just boring. It says the DLC on a single planet, Varunkai, and followed a more traditional story-driven arc. This fixed the problem of empty, artificially generated content, but only by replacing it with some arguably just as hollow. Despite a hefty $30 price tag, Shattered Space offered barely 8 hours of new content. That's why I didn't buy it, and I've never done anything with Starfield since its launch because it's boring as hell. There wasn't enough in it. No content has drawn me back. Other Bethesda games have drawn me in, but Starfield was just so damn boring. Anyway, Bethesda, except for the ships, the ships and the customization of the ships, that's great. All of that was actually pretty fun, but it wasn't enough to keep me. So if the studio doesn't learn from these mistakes, any future Starfield DLC, no matter the format, will face the same backlash. And it's already going to face the same backlash before it does it, because it's already dropped the ball twice. 8 hours of gameplay for $30. It should have been $15 DLC. So even if Bethesda keeps procedural generation, they can introduce systems that make the planets feel more lived in instead of copy pasting the same buildings. The game could include multi-structure buildings with randomized. I mean, Minecraft does a better job with mod capabilities that augment the shortcomings of production Minecraft. Open the door so that other people can actually augment whatever is going on. But I don't know if the planets that are procedurally generated can even function with external modding. And I haven't even looked at StarCraft since, so I don't even know if modding exists in that space. Anyway, yeah, I would love for it to be a little bit more interesting content-wise. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Happy Independence Day. Independence? Shouldn't it be pendant? Independence? Independence Day. Here are 10 amazing indie games that you've never heard of before. The author of this over at Kotaku says that I'm so incredibly pleased to welcome you to the fifth annual celebration of unknown or underknown indie games. Independence Day, I guess, making up for paying the price of being an indie. It's the day Kotaku completes the sacrament of forgiveness for AAA coverage by dedicating large amounts of space to smaller games. It's also a good pun, sure. So John Walker over at Kotaku put the article together, kotaku.com. Let's go. Oh, it's a slideshow. So let's see what they actually, I'm just going to list them. So Cupid Claw, In Hope Voiden, Time Travel Shanty, Platypus Reclayed, Exarch, Tito, Leha, Rogue Eclipse, Leaving Home, and Bat to the Beat. Which one should we go? Okay, Cupid Claw. We'll just go to Cupid Claw. There is a video, but it says it's bizarre to note that Cupid Claw is not the first roguelike deck building claw machine game they've seen, because I've actually seen this one too, Dungeon Crawler. Combination of Slay the Spire and Arcade Machine is fantastic. Dungeon Crawler is a lot of fun. But I get bored extremely fast. So I don't know what to say there, but Cupid Claw, I'm going to hit play. I'm going to mute it. Oh, I might have to get this. I mean, it looks like it's kind of meh, but it's an idle casual game that might be fun to play, at least for short bits, short stints. Dungeon Crawler definitely is the next on the list. Let's go back to the slideshow, and I want to go see Bat to the Beat. So as soccer game becomes ever bigger deal in the US, you have to wonder which other British dominated sports could make the transition, but surely never cricket. So massively popular in Australasia, Africa, South Asia, and West Indies, as well as the UK. It remains utterly unfathomable to the United States. I don't know. People change. Look around. All right. So I'll have to get this. I guess you have to attack or defend based on the beat. So it's kind of like a rhythm game. So yeah, we'll have to check it out. All right, let's keep going though. Haunted Chocolatier has the perfect blueprint for festivals with Stardew Valley's Squid Fest. As fans continue to wait patiently for more news about Haunted Chocolatier, developer Concerned Ape's next major title, many are turning back to Stardew Valley to soak in every last update the beloved farming sim has to offer. From its silent whimsy to how it redefined the gold standard in the farming sim genre, Stardew Valley has set a high bar for Haunted Chocolatier to follow. But the bar is only in comparison to Concerned Ape's Stardew Valley. Like, they have to beat Stardew Valley, which is going to be really tough. But I think it's a completely different game. It isn't the same type of game either. So I hope that people don't go crazy and go boo hiss because Stardew Valley and Haunted Chocolatier aren't at the same level, because it's a completely different game, I think. And Stardew Valley has this ability for modding that has sent it just up and over the hill. I mean, it is in the mountain of games that people are building. At the peak is Stardew Valley for a lot of people. And then just setting it on fire is the modding community, because you can add so much to Stardew Valley. It says Squidfest may appear to be a minor event in an otherwise busy calendar in Stardew Valley, but its design choices could make it a standout example of how in-game festivals should function. Rather than shutting down the entire town and halting player progress for the duration of the event, Squidfest embraces immersion without disrupting the game's rhythm. It's a subtle shift, but one that feels perfectly aligned with what Haunted Chocolatier could evolve into, especially given its premise of eerie, whimsical, and interactive town life. So I've never played Stardew Valley long enough to get to Squidfest. I update it whenever updates come, but I never get to play it. And I don't really care about the story so much. I'm kind of there for the farming and just like playing around, just goofing around in there. But some people, they're following the storyline, and I never want the game to end. That's kind of my thing. That's why I like survival-based building, crafting games. I never want it to end. I just want to live in there and have people show up whenever they want to, and leave a server running, and people pop in, pop out. And if I'm in there, I'm in there. And if I'm not, then they can do whatever they want. So Haunted Chocolatier could take this practically even further, or this practicality. But this is all speculation. It says instead of pulling players away from their chocolate shop, festivals in Haunted Chocolatier could happen around the player. Town events could bring in increased foot traffic, unique customer dialogue, limited time ingredients, or special plot beats for romances. Stardew Valley was well known for romances. In fact, I've only watched one person like reliably play Stardew Valley, and that was Dunkstar. So if you've ever gone over to Twitch to look for somebody, look for Dunkstar, DUNCSTAR. They stream every night on at around midnight. It really depends on the time zone. They're from South Africa, and so for me, it would be midnight on the East Coast when I see them the most. I typically start watching them, and then I fall asleep, and then I wake up like 4 hours later, maybe 3 hours later, and I'm listening to them having a good time. It's just a blast of a channel over on Twitch, and they have a YouTube channel as well, but Their live stuff is I discovered them on Twitch. Anyway, what they did was they romanced everybody. And then they got confronted by all of the girlfriends, sat around a table and did, what is it called? An intervention, and just totally busted him and really caught him off guard, or he played it really well. But yeah, it's an awesome channel over on Twitch. Anyway, yeah, I guess I could do like, well, I can't really, let me do shout out to, let's see, hold on. I'm doing it live. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, go over and check out this thing. It says a festival blueprint that actually works. And essentially it's don't necessarily stop the entire game's progression so that you can inject some particular event. Players can lose out on an entire day's income, miss a key window to build a relationship with a villager, or find themselves unable to buy seeds for empty plots, halting progress for no good reason. So festivals are charming, sure, but they often come at the cost of momentum. Yeah, and I've never understood why a game would just freeze everything. And it wouldn't freeze it, though. Like, certain progression would continue, or it would throw off the timing if it didn't progress. So you have to pick and choose. And either you fall behind in one place, or you lose out on the festival environment. So, hello, Evil Mark. And the last article for the WarCrafters show, which, if you're new here, I talk about 5 shows across 3 different. I talk about 5 articles on 3 different shows. You just happen to bump into us while we are talking about gaming in the WarCrafters show. Right after this article, I shut down and I restart for a more science technology-based show called TechnologyToday. And then after that show, I do FourWheelTech, which is an automotive show. All of those become the Sunday edition of Non Sequitur News, and all of it is a podcast as well as a live stream. So if you have questions or comments, throw it in chat. Happy to discuss things. But this last article is over in the WarCrafters channel at ohmTown.com. Runaway city building success Manor Lords is getting a major overhaul to its system. It's not just a new feature or 2, it's a full rework according to the article. The article is actually sourced from PC Gamer. We get this little tidbit from them, and we link to our source when we talk about it. And it'll bring you over to here where Rick Lane put the article together for PCGamer.com. Well, take care, Evil Mark. Have a good one. Drive safe. Nice to see you. So the deck statement says, because we're all working on these big changes, we haven't been able to put out smaller patches, which is actually pretty awesome. You don't want it half-baked, and then people who go off half-cocked about the quality of the patch or whatever. Like what's happening with Dune. Dune kind of wet the bed, and they're patching stuff, but the patches were screwing up. And so now apparently there's a bigger patch that was dropped. I think it was yesterday or this morning. I can't remember which one. But I've paused entirely playing Dune, even though I absolutely love the world of Dune. Well, these guys decided that they were just going to hold off and concentrate on doing a rework. So city building smash hit Manor Lords received a relatively frequent update after its launch into early access, but the pace slowed at the start of 2025, and it's because they basically said, we're going to concentrate on doing a rebuild and do what's already right better, and do what might not fit right good. And although I hate the phrase, they didn't let perfection stand in the way of good enough, at least they're going back to make it as perfect as they can imagine it. So developer Slavic Magic, actual tangible changes to the game are thin on the ground. So now Manor Lords creator Greg Steizen, I think his name is, well, it might be Stitchin, I'm not sure how they pronounce the last name, has explained why these regular updates haven't been coming, basically focusing on a rework of how buildings, production chains, and environmental interactions function. So they don't go into great depth, they say in this article, but Stetchen describes trying to fit regular plots into circular areas as not pleasant, which, yeah, square pegs, round holes, all that. So instead, he and his team have come up with an environmentally contextual solution. The environments we have so far are meadow, woodland, farmland, rural, and urban, and buildings have different affinities. For instance, apiaries will benefit from a large woodland area in the region. Experimentally, we made it even more complex, and some buildings can buff the affinities of the other buildings. For instance, having apiaries can increase the existing effect that pollination orchards get from meadows. So they're doing some environmental enhancements, and you kind of get these affinities that amplify the effects. So sounds great to me. Oh, and if you hear that kind of grinding, what the Sentient AI said sounds like a murder taking place. It's a 3D printer that is in it's in conjunction with a 3D modeling show that's going to launch next weekend, but probably Sunday, because my mayoral duties are probably going to keep me busy on Saturday. At any rate, Constructagon is what it's called, and we'll be highlighting technology, people, things, websites that focus on 3D modeling. I think it's going to be ever more important in 2025 and beyond, mainly because of supply chain issues. But we'll get into all of that when we kick off the show. But that's it for WarCrafters for July 6th, 2025. And it is a time machine episode, so I'm going to shut down, and then we're going to come right back to do Technology Today, 5 more articles. So we'll see you in a little bit. But first, we'll Warcraft our way back to the front page of WarCrafters at ohmTown.com. So go over there and check it all out. I'm also working on a way so that you can kind of fast travel to WarCrafters instead of having to type in a long URL. But usually I just say, hey, go over to ohmTown.com and then click. Don't even click, just mouse over the menu option, and then WarCrafters is right here. So we got 50 channels. Go and check them all out. And we've got 2,400 episodes going all the way back to January 1st, 2025. So see you in a little bit. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Technology Today. I am MayorWatt. I run ohmTown.com. That's that site right there. And over there is the Sentient AI, but they're not available for this Time Machine episode for July 5th, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 27. Today we're going to be talking about a graphene breakthrough, CO2 turned into liquid gold, a fourth, dark side of the moon temperatures, and what are slow slip earthquakes. That and maybe some snarky, whatever, shenanigans. See you on the other side of our intro. All right, everybody. Hello. You might hear some weird sounds in the background. That is a 3D printer. That is the inaugural 3D printer for Constructagon, which is a show that's going to be launching next weekend, next Sunday probably, that focuses on the 3D printing world. I've got several 3D printers, but the latest one is a Bamboo Lab, what is it? P1S. And anyway, it's grinding away, and I was going to show, I had printed out something that I thought was pretty fun, but it's printed in green PLA. But it's just this little wire spool for me to wind up USB-C cables. Anyway, we're going to talk about models and technology and all of that kind of stuff in a show that's dedicated to 3D modeling. And I just realized that maybe something I was drinking has turned me blue. Anyway, let's get into today's articles. This is the front page of ohmTown on July 6th. I am in the time machine, going back in time a day to do the show. If you're watching this, then consider yourself a time traveler. Maybe not. but there's Technology Today. And the first article that we're going to talk about is a major graphene breakthrough. Magnet-free spin currents could supercharge quantum computing. Now, quantum computing is kind of in the way deep end of the science and technology pool, and I'm not as versed as maybe I should be in the technology, but Delft University of Technology put the article together. It's over at scitechdaily.com. And they say scientists at TU Delft have unlocked a key quantum effect in graphene without using any magnetic fields, paving the way for ultra-thin quantum circuits. By layering graphene on a special magnetic crystal, they created stable spin currents that travel along the edges of the material. These currents carry information through the electron's spin, a feature that could power faster, more energy-efficient electronics and revolutionize quantum computing. The magnet-free approach makes it possible to build powerful spintronic devices small enough to fit inside next-generation chips, because you don't have to create the electronic field, the electromagnetic field. So spin is a quantum mechanical property of electrons, which is like a tiny magnet carried by the electrons pointing up or down, which can leverage the spin of electrons to transfer and process information in so-called spintronic devices. Such circuits hold promise for next-generation technologies, including faster and more energy-efficient electronics, quantum computing, and advanced memory devices. Yeah, so this is the really in the reads kind of stuff, unless you're really deep into the science of quantum technology, electrical engineering, and physics. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that when I start thinking about it too much, my head just starts to spin tronically. If you want today's show notes, you can hit !TT in chat over on Twitch, but all of the articles are already embedded in the show notes as usual. I always repeat that just in case somebody new, and we're a fairly undiscovered country in terms of being a podcast and a live show and a channel over on YouTube and Twitch. So I just kind of repeat this stuff so that people can discover where all we are. So the scientists from Van der Zandt lab were able to bypass the need for external fields by layering the graphene on top of a magnetic material, CrPS4. The magnetic layer significantly altered the graphene's electronic properties, giving rise to the QSH effect in graphene. They basically observed the spin transport in graphene gets modified by the neighboring CrPS4, such that the flow of electrons in graphene becomes dependent on the electron's spin direction. I don't quite understand how they're protecting it, but they say that graphene CrPS4 stack are topologically protected, implying that the spin signal travels stay intact over tens of microns along distances without losing the spin information in the circuit. These topologically protected spin currents are robust against disorders and defects, making them reliable even in imperfect conditions. So, at least in their lab environment, they're immune to whatever might possibly impact the spin. A strong enough electromagnetic current would probably disrupt it, but I don't know what it is that they're testing or how they'll be able to protect it. Because electromagnetic fields can penetrate pretty much everything, and to stop it needs density. There isn't just some magical property about a product that can block it. But it's a ratio. So I'm curious about this, and I'll have to keep an eye on it to see what they end up talking about. But let's keep going. The next article is over on Today. Korean scientists transform CO2 into liquid gold. Breakthrough CO2 conversion technology achieves record-setting efficiency in producing high-value chemical fuels. As climate change continues to escalate and carbon emissions hit record highs, the urgency to find effective ways to recycle carbon dioxide, or CO2, has never been greater, with the global movement toward carbon neutrality gaining momentum, maybe in some places. innovative methods for turning CO2 into useful materials is ever more important. Gwangju Institute of Science and Technology over at scitechdaily.com. So they say the breakthrough CO2 conversion technology achieves record-setting efficiency in producing high-value chemical fuels. Converting CO2 into alcohol-based products is especially promising due to the high energy content and economic value of these compounds. Despite this potential, the process has long been hindered by low efficiency and challenges in scaling up to industrial levels. What I have seen others do is try to leverage the sun and some catalyst to convert CO2 into some other product. Their new approach to CO2 to alcohol conversion sets a global performance record by combining exceptional efficiency with large-scale production capability. It's published in Nature Catalysis. The research reveals an electrochemical technique that transforms CO2 into alcohol, a high-value compound with various industrial applications. So I'm really curious what it is that they're doing. Their current methods enable very low Faraday efficiency, less than 15%. Secondly, the reaction path is complex and intermediates have low stability, adding to the inefficiency of the process. So you usually have to keep on adding more. The catalyst actually gets contaminated, I guess. But producing these high-value added compounds in liquid state is difficult due to the complex carbon-to-carbon connection, the bond formation, and the low stability of the reaction intermediate. So, don't want to get into the, the rate and weight of the conversion. I wish that they would have provided a better they say that they achieved a Faraday efficiency of 66.9%, which is about 4 times higher than the existing best technology. But they created a phosphorus-rich copper catalyst by integrating copper phosphide into a membrane electrode assembly alongside a nickel iron oxidation catalyst. So that is the catalyst. Using this catalyst in the electrochemical setup, they achieved that 66.9%. So, yeah, pretty amazing. 4 times higher than the existing 15%. So as long as they don't end up with some toxic waste at the end of the process, I'm all for it. But let's keep on going. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. Physicists close in on the fifth fourth. That's why I titled it the fifth fourth. It's a fifth force that could unlock the mystery of dark matter. Scientists are using trapped ions in cutting-edge experiments to hunt for signs of an undiscovered particle that might help unravel the mystery of dark matter. The standard model of particle physics offers an exceptionally precise description of the fundamental components that form all visible matter. I have long suspected that there is something that permeates everything, including the sensors, such that you can't detect what's permeating it so thoroughly. So if you were to take something into a room that's 98.6 degrees and you are 98.6 degrees, you're basically in ambient temperature and you're not going to sense a temperature change. You are just sunk in there. I think that's what sensor technology is right now. You can't detect what is already so richly permeating everything that we need something to block whatever it is, right? So this dark matter that they're talking about, I read one discussion, and because I don't think that it was really scientific discussion, I don't even recall where it is, the paper, or if I'm extrapolating from something that was discussed publicly. But essentially, that double slit experiment where there was banding after shooting light through the double slit, the black bands are the dark matter, and what has been explained as what do you call it? it's not resonance. Basically canceling out, treating photons as a particle and a wave is a misperception of what is actually happening, and it's basically separating dark matter, and that's what the bands are. I don't know if anybody has done more experimentation on that to see if any of that is just mumbo jumbo bullshit. But anyway, the article that we're talking about today is at ETH Zurich. It's posted at scitechdaily.com. Scientists are using trapped ions in cutting-edge experiments to hunt for signs of undiscovered particle that might help unravel the mystery of dark matter. The standard model is currently the best explanation of the universe, but we know it cannot explain everything. Basically, there's a ton of matter that nobody knows where it is because the universe isn't. The weight of the universe, I guess, is not calculated in the observable space. So where is all the rest of it? So it also defines the basic forces that govern interactions between these elementary particles. One of the biggest mysteries in physics today is this idea of dark matter. So researchers have long conducted experiments using particle accelerators such as CERN in Geneva for a search for new particles beyond the standard model. As atomic physicists, they can measure the atom with extremely high precision. Therefore, the idea is to search for a new force beyond the neutron and electron using precision atomic spectroscopy. So if this force really exists in the atom, then its strength is proportional to the number of neutrons in the atomic nucleus. I think that's they're explaining this, a doctoral student in the research team. That's why we're experimenting with isotopes to detect this hypothetical force. I don't know if it's a hypothetical force or just one that cannot be detected because we don't have anything that's devoid of this particular element of nature. So as a result, the total force experienced by electrons in different isotopes should vary slightly due to the different number of neutrons, and this can be measured by examining the energy levels on which the electrons move within the atom. Specifically, researchers expect the new force to cause slight shifts in the energy levels between different isotopes. But different isotopes may have different energy levels. Well, they do have different energy levels in and of themselves. So they say to determine these energy shifts, we measure the frequency of the light emitted when our isotopes transition between two energy levels. But if you're imparting energy into it, you're going to get a shift. And then there might be some wastage because any type of work is going to either cause light or heat or a combination of both, etc. Anyway, it's pretty interesting. The article goes much deeper than what I am explaining, but they say to interpret the result correctly, other research teams in Germany and Australia carried out precision calculations, and their results show that well-understood nuclear effects explain only part of the deviation, or we just don't understand that the deviation is part and parcel to whatever it is that they're examining, in that we're still misunderstanding some other fifth or beyond, because there's more than four forces apparently. So there's theoretical other forces. Let's go on. The next article is over in Technology Today. Record-shattering molecule stores data, quote unquote, at dark side of the moon temperatures. A new molecule may soon enable tiny hard drives that store vastly more data. Withstanding extreme cold, it paves the way for dense and efficient storage solutions. Researchers at University of Manchester and Australian National University have developed a novel molecule capable of storing data at extremely low temperatures. What does it matter, though? I mean, yeah. So, just as an anecdotal conversation about this, if you want to store gas, you want to cool it down in a liquid. So, for instance, you can inject CO2 into a colder liquid than a hotter liquid. So if you ever want to inject carbonation into your water, cool it down first and then smash CO2 into it. So the new single molecule magnet developed by the research team can retain its magnetic memory up to 100 Kelvin, which is about minus 173 degrees Celsius, or as cold as an evening on the moon. This is a significant advancement from the record of 80 Kelvin, which is around minus 193 degrees Celsius. If perfected, these molecules could pack large amounts of information into tiny spaces, but to hold that data, they would have to remain that cold. I don't know. They need to stop making reference to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Anyway, as internet use continues to rise with more people streaming content, social media, etc., you need more storage. Storage is bulky until you can find technology that micronizes it. So here we go. While still a long way away from working in a standard freezer at room temperatures, data stored at 100 Kelvin or minus 173 degrees Celsius could be feasible in huge data centers, such as those used by Google, except when the power goes out. And if everything is stored on this kind of stuff, this sensitive, low temperature storage devices, we're going to lose mountains of information because somebody failed to lubricate a generator. Anyway, again, this goes deeper, but I'm not going to go deep into it with this, at least today. They're talking about Supercomputer Research Center in Western Australia and the National Computational Infrastructure at ANU. And it says, in more than 50 years since the release of the Dark Side of the Moon, technology has progressed leaps and bounds. It's exciting to think how technologies will continue to evolve in the next half a century. Is mentioning Dark Side of the Moon supposed to be something that people connect with? Because I just don't see a lot of people chomping at the bit to have a discussion that anecdotally references Dark Side of the Moon. I grew up with it, so I understand it. All right. Well, the next article and our last one for Technology Today is over in Technology Today. For the first time, scientists witness an undersea slow slip earthquake unzip. Seafloor sensors caught a rare slow quake in action. It hints at how Earth's stress is quietly released. For the first time, scientists have directly observed a slow slip earthquake in the midst of relieving tectonic stress along a major underwater fault zone. I hope there's video of it. University of Texas at Austin put the article together. It's posted over at scitechdaily.com. Yeah, these sensors tracked the slow slip like a ripple moving across the plate surface, said Josh Edgington, who led the research while completing his doctorate at the University of Texas Institute for Geophysics, part of UT Austin's Jackson School of Geosciences. Unlike hidden earthquakes, slow slip events unfold over days or weeks. Though only recently recognized by scientists, these events are believed to play a key role in how stress accumulates and is released along faults. The new observation from Japan's Nankai Fault provide compelling evidence supporting the idea. It's more than a concept. Anyway, so this is the whole ring of fire that they talk about in grade school. The two slow slip events, only recently examined in detail, manifested as waves of deformation moving through the Earth's crust, originating roughly 30 miles off of Japan's coast, and unzipping motion was traced by the sensors as it progressed seaward before fading at the continental margin. Very interesting. So yeah, the last time Japan's Nankai Fault produced a significant quake was in 1946. The magnitude 8 earthquake destroyed 36,000 homes and killed over 1,300 people. Armed with that knowledge, scientists can begin to probe other regions of the fault to better understand the overall hazard it possesses. It's not like they can do anything about it except prepare for and get early warning. So for instance, Cascadia, a massive earthquake that hit the Pacific Northwest, appears to lack Nankai's natural shock absorber. Although some slow slip has been detected at Cascadia, none of it has been detected at the tsunami generating tail end of that fault, which suggests that it may be strongly locked to the trench. So this is a place that we know has hosted magnitude 9 earthquakes and can spawn deadly tsunamis. There are creaks and groans and indicate the release of accumulated strain or is fault near the trench deadly silent? Cascadia is a clear top priority area for that kind of high precision monitoring approach that they've demonstrated as valuable at Nankai. So pretty interesting stuff. With that in mind, we are going to slow slip our way back to the front page of Technology Today over at ohmTown.com. Go over there, sign up, sign in, become a citizen, and then follow us on Twitch and YouTube, or YouTube and Twitch. Download the podcast, and leave a like or subscribe, or 5 stars over on Apple, wherever you catch your podcasts. Just let people know that we exist. That would be great, because I'd love to continue to do this more often, but my mayoral duties pull me away from time to time, so that's why I couldn't do the show yesterday. So we'll see you in a little bit as I shut down the time machine, retool, and launch FourWheelTech here in just a couple of minutes. Bye bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to FourWheelTech for July 5th. No, it's July 6th, 2025. Time machine is messing with my head. Season 2, episode 27. I am MayorWatt. The Sentient AI is not available today, but our show and our website and the podcast and the YouTube and the Twitches and everything is available. And we're going to be talking about what are those chrome tubes that are on trucks. I've actually wondered what they are. And so when this got submitted, I was like, yeah, okay, we got to talk about it. I still don't know because I haven't looked at it yet. Convertible EVs are hard. Ariel Atom 4RR, the 1,000 horsepower Subaru wide body Lotus, and the AMG CLA 45 is the final edition of the car before going all EV. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, everything is powered by ohmTown, so you get to watch this. All right, so little warning, you might hear some weird grinding, crunchy, whatever sound in the background, and that's because we are launching a new show called Constructagon that focuses on 3D modeling and technology, and I've got a new 3D printer that is sitting in the studio because I will be streaming whatever it is that is being printed and talking about 3D prints, technology, people, communities, etc. Even here on Twitch is a great community by Loyal Moses. Here, I mean, just do a search and you'll find him. He's pretty popular on YouTube. Pretty big deal, man, on Twitch and YouTube. So great community, a lot of fun, and usually on the weekends. But anyway, yeah, we'll be talking about that as we approach. It will be on Sundays, probably. I don't know. It might be a better fit for Saturday, but we'll play it by ear. But it will be a weekly show, and we'll be talking about 5 articles related to the 3D printing world. I think it's going to become vastly more important that individuals have the ability to print what they need as the technology has advanced to the point where it's so drop dead simple to just mash a button and send it to your printer and it prints. I've printed about 6 things or so in the day that I've had the printer, and it took 10 minutes to launch. All right. Well, anyway, this is ohmTown for July 6th, but we're here for FourWheelTech, which is what this site is over at ohmTown.com. The first article that we're going to talk about, though, is ever wonder what those chrome tubes on semis are? Nope, they're not fuel tanks. They're talking about the vertical ones. Those chrome tubes on the sides of semi-trucks look cool, but they're far from being merely cosmetic. In fact, they serve an important function. I suspected they have to do with air brakes, but I'm not sure, and I've never really looked into it. But when this got submitted, it piqued my curiosity. So they're talking about These right here, as far as I know, not these right here. These are insulators from the exhaust. That goes up here, and this prevents you from burning your face off just by walking by them. But I think they're talking about these right here. So anyway, a lot of car enthusiasts. Oh, the article is by Charles Crome, over which has an awesome name for a jalopnik writer. Jeepers. Any reporter that has the name Chrome must write for. It's Krome, so hopefully it's just pronounced Chrome. They must write. It's in the stars that they write for an automotive industry website or magazine. All right, so if you want today's FourWheelTech articles, you have to hit !FWT on Twitch, and ohmTown will spit the articles out, and you can just click on the links. That said, over on YouTube, they're already embedded in the show's in the stream's show notes. All right. Well, anyway, like noted car collector Beyonce singing on top of a Decatora. When you've got it really bad, you might even start wondering what the big spikes on semi-truck wheels are for. I don't know what they're for. What road warrior your way through a busy gas station? I don't know. Or why truck drivers still thump their tires. I don't know why that is either, but they have links that you can follow if you go over to jalopnik.com. But what are these cylinders, that perhaps better described as cylinders or canisters, that are usually mounted outside a semi-truck's engine compartment? So yeah, it is this right there that they're talking about. Those aren't fuel tanks, and they're not tanks for diesel exhaust fluid or oil or anything like that either. In fact, they're not tanks at all. They're the housings for the big Oh, it is. It's the air cleaning system. Including its air filter, which is pivotal or vital, they say in here, for proper engine breathing to optimize performance and efficiency. It's not air brakes, though. It's for the air system. It's basically a big air handler. And for those air filters, they're so vital. Why don't all semi have them? Well, they do, but the bigger ones, they're under the hood. They're better aerodynamics and emissions performance. But yeah, the older ones are out here sitting like that, I guess. So how the air filters in those chrome tubes work. Two things are needed for combustion and internal combustion engines: air and fuel. On the air side of the equation, however, you're really talking about oxygen in the air around us. Oxygen is a specific element needed to combine with fuel for burning, and it's that burning combustion that creates the power. This isn't like no shit news. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so you know what's not needed for combustion? Any kind of dirt, debris, or any contaminant. So the first relies on obviously dry filter material that often looks like paper or fabric. That right there. Not this guy. You don't put this guy inside your air filter because, well, he's not going to filter anything out. But so the results of that major reduction in efficiency is when that filter gets filled up, and so you have to take it out. And some of them are reusable. I don't know in the truck industry if they're reusable, but K&N makes reusable filters. So filter issues can also cause your exhaust system to produce black smoke since the air-fuel mixture is off. Another concern is when it gets too dirty, it can stop working and it basically contaminate either the motor or just kill the motor outright. So it says, to be exact, those unwanted particles can find their way into the tiny spaces between the piston head and cylinder wall, eventually leading to it scuffs up the internal mechanisms until it can actually fail. So yeah, not good. So it's basically just a big ass air filter on the outside of a truck. That's the big thick canisters, not the longer silver cylinders that are wrapping around the exhaust. Let's keep going though. The next article is over in FourWheelTech. Building a convertible EV is way harder than you'd think. If you love both convertibles and electric vehicles, you may have some disappointment in store. Here's why building a convertible EV is so hard. This article is also over at jalopnik.com and by Charles Crome, which I don't think we've ever mentioned their name in the article in the show before. So anyway, so what's so hard about it? Well, it's aerodynamically unsound for a convertible. Convertibles are really heavy on the bottom. because of the battery sled that makes up pretty much every convertible or every EV. I think that technology is still wrong. I'll say it every time. We've gone down the wrong road when it comes to EV battery technology. So the EV convertibles on sale today are led by two pricey rides: the Maserati Grand Cabrio Folgore, which is, they say, a gorgeous electric convertible that's also shockingly quick with a 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds, and impressively expensive. Suggested retail price $207,000. I'm rounding up. That makes the GMC Hummer EV look like a bargain at $97,000 plus $2,500 destination charge, even if you have to pay another $1,500 for the EV's Infinity Roof, which is made up of removable panels for open air driving. You can insert your own GMC Hummer EV jokes here, whatever that means. Anyway, automakers like Porsche and Polestar and Tesla have teased EV convertibles. The Roadster, Tesla Roadster, is a convertible. It's not around anymore, I don't think. Anyway, top concerns. Engineering a convertible is no easy task regardless of the powertrain. A hard roof is a key structural component of the vehicle. You remove it and you have to replace it with reinforcements in various other places. All that weight added to the weight of the battery already, and you've got basically a weight to battery ratio that drains the battery potentially faster than you want, right? So there's also a subtle design factor that makes it difficult to build EV convertibles. So-called skateboard platforms that are used are fine for tall riding trucks and SUVs, but the typical convertible is a low-slung coupe or coupe. A look hard to achieve when the car's body is on top of its batteries. So I don't know. Just make sunroofs that open up all the way and fold into the back, but leave all of the structural componentry in place, and it just slides all the way back. I think that's really the smartest thing. Anyway, the country's best-selling plug-in hybrid has a suggested price of $51,000, and can travel 21 miles of EV travel, and shows off a removable top and doors plus a fold-down windscreen. They say here. So if you absolutely must have a car that combines electric-only driving with open-air excitement, there are only a few options. McLaren Speedy Artura Spider, a horsepower-heavy Bentley Continental GT, and the first V6 Ferrari Spider for the road, the 296 GTS, all feature convertible tops, plug-in hybrid powertrains. For something a little lighter, though, they say that the Jeep Wrangler 4xe stands out, and that's $51,000 plus $2,000 for destination, and it drives EV, but it's hybrid. I don't know. EREVs are where it's at. Extended range electric vehicles. They use a gas engine to charge batteries that feed into electric motors, and that's really where it should be. And you can get you extended range EVs, EREVs, in the $50,000 range, and they go 500 plus miles. So let's keep going. The next article is over in FourWheelTech as well. Ariel is making 25 totally bonker Atom 4RRs with a 525 horsepower Honda Turbo 4. Built to celebrate Ariel's 25th anniversary, the Atom 4RR will have a better power to weight ratio than a Bugatti Chiron Supersport. Logan K. Carter over at Jalopnik.com put the article together. This is a race car. Ariel, a boutique UK-based car maker known for producing some of the wildest vehicles on four wheels, is celebrating its 25th birthday by announcing its most powerful car ever, the Ariel Atom 4RR. Only 25 will be made. It's a 525 horsepower, 406 pound-feet of torque, even more power than the other limited run high performer, the 500 horsepower 25 unit Ariel Atom V8. The 4RR's less rare and slightly less insane sibling, the 400 horsepower Ariel Atom Ariel Atom 4R, weighs around 1,500 pounds and goes from 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds. It'll be around the same, more impressive power to weight ratio. So it says the 4RR is likely to have a power to weight ratio of more than 800 horsepower per ton, or higher than that of a Bugatti Chiron Supersport. So that's what it kind of looks like right there. Pushing the limits since its first Atom hit the road in 2000, so 25 years of Atom evolution. Talk about spintronics. So the Atom 4RR is a circuit-focused car that is meant for serious track drivers, and it sure looks the part, giving baby F1 car vibes courtesy of an aero package that's decked out in a special new yellow livery. I don't know. I've never liked saying that word for a color scheme. Anyway, each Atom 4RR will be made to order, and technical specs as well as pricing will be announced later this year. Let's move on. The next article is over in FourWheelTech as well. A 1,000 horsepower Subaru-powered wide-body Lotus is evidence that Japanese car culture is just better. Even the most devout monk who's found true enlightenment would agree that a rip behind the wheel of this thing would be pretty much anything that ails you, or cure anything that ails you. I don't know why they went that angle with this, but anyway. Brad Brennell over at jalopnik.com put the article together, and they say there is nowhere else on earth that you can find a shop capable or even willing to try swapping out a Subaru EJ25 flat 4 engine with enough boost to blow the moon out of the orbit into a Lotus Elise. Even fewer places would make that look like an old Can-Am car from the early 1970s with a massive wedge nose wide body kit. That's it right there. Doesn't even look like the car anymore. Anyway, this is one of the coolest looking things on four wheels built in the last decade at least, and it helps that the car is so incredibly fast. It looks like a race car. It doesn't look like a car that just had an engine swap. Anyway, no, they put it in a Lotus Elise. Okay. I read that whole thing kind of wrong. Lotus Elise is an exotic car already, so... but they put a Subaru EJ25 flat 4 engine in it. Probably had to widen it a little bit to fit the engine in there. They kind of bumped out the tires and stuff. So it doesn't look all that aerodynamically efficient to the author, but there's something about a nose wing roof scoop, low chassis mount wing setup, and open to the elements rear body kit that looks like it should be fighting Porsche's venerable 91730 at Laguna Seca. Blend in the absurd sound of the big Subaru engine and presumably a turbocharger the size of your head, and you've got a recipe for awesome. I agree. Well, you can go and check out the rest of this article. Apparently the car is dubbed Lotus Bunny 1. Originally built to conquer Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, though, judging by the results from this year's weather-shortened climb to the clouds, the car didn't make it over for the event. And our final article for FourWheelTech in the time machine for July 6th, I need to correct my spreadsheet, is a Mercedes AMG CLA 45S final edition is the last gas-powered roar before the AMG CLA goes all electric. As Mercedes gets ready to shift to the electrified third generation of the CLA, the company is giving previous generations of AMG model one last send-off, the AMG CLA 45. It's a good-looking car. Well, at least with this livery. Anyway, Nicholas Werner over at jalopnik.com put the article together. So, what's so ultimate about this ultimate version? For one thing, the engine is cranked up from 416 power to 416 horsepower. Sure, it's got the same powertrain as a normal AMG CLA 45S under the hood, but that's not a bad thing. Each turbocharged 2.0 liter inline 4 is hand-built by a single person at AMG's plant, so you know who to blame if it throws a rod. And it gives the CLA 45S a 0 to 60 in 4 seconds and a limited top speed of 155. No, that's not bad. Anyway, the final edition is mostly an aesthetic offering. Looks more rounded. Comes in a wide variety of colors, and by wide variety they mean manufacturer mountain gray magno and literally nothing else. Yellow and black accents complemented throughout, including matte black 19-inch forged wheels, yellow stitching across the interior, and of course a giant black and yellow 45S painted on the doors. I can do those a whole lot cheaper than having them painted on your doors. Yeah, you can contact me. Anyway, this is essentially an all the bells and whistles version of the CLA with a unique design, flourishes, and 45S featured everywhere, including a 45S Final Edition badge right on the center console. No word yet on the price, but for reference, speccing out a similar car will now cost you north of $80,000. Microsoft just raised the price of Microsoft Office subscription by 30%. Yeah, you suck. All right, well, anyway, we are going to turn on our supercharger and hit the thin pedal on the right, and that's going to blast us to the front page of FourWheelTech over at ohmTown.com. Go over and sign up or sign in. I am going to get the flock out of here. So see ya in a little bit. I may or may not be able to do tonight's, or I should say tomorrow's, because this is a time machine for Sunday. Monday's Non Sequitur news. It depends on my mayoral duties, but we'll see. And be sure to follow us, like and subscribe, ring the bell, follow us on Twitch, download the podcast. Just do a search for ohmTown with your podcatcher, because there are 7 podcasts: Non Sequitur News, RealityHacker, Wanted, the Continuity Report, WarCrafters, TechnologyToday, and this show, FourWheelTech. Anyway, we'll see you out of here. We'll see you later. I'm getting out of here. My brain is faster than the gearbox that is connected to it. See you later.